One of the world's strange sights are camels in the snow. We know them as beasts of the hot places. But here on the roof of Asia, in the winter mountains of Mongolia, they are the only sign of life in this harsh, freezing place. There are signs of death here too. The torn carcass of a yak means that other unseen eyes have been watching the progress of the little caravan. The prints in the snow are those of the most mysterious, the most elusive of the great cats. A man could live all his life in these mountains and yet have no more than a few fleeting glimpses of the cats. But they're here all right, occasionally killing domestic stock as hunger drives them from the peaks into the high valleys. No one yet knows quite how many or how few. But the man on the camel knows they are always there, always watching. For these are the mountains of the snow leopard. Mongolia is a place of wide and empty spaces. Her people call it the land of the blue eternal heaven. It's a land now struggling with democracy after 60 years of communist rule. In all that time, Mongolians never lost touch with a culture based on the horse and hard riding, of moving like the wind across the steppes of Central Asia. Stone-faced men like these who took Genghis Khan's army to the very heart of Europe. Sandwiched between Russia in the north and China to the south, Mongolia is both a political buffer between these two powerful countries and the place where their different cultures blend and merge to create something unique. Mongolia is almost 3 times the size of France, but has a population of only 2 million. Almost half of them live nomadic lives, herding livestock. The landscape is like the wildlife and the people, hard, uncompromising, and often mysterious. The face of Mongolia is abruptly changeable, from the burning rocks of the Gobi Desert across the grassy steppe to the icy mountains of the Cats. Mongolians choose to live as part of their landscape, in gurs, the snug round felt tent of the nomadic herdsman. Even in the few modern towns, many families preserve something of their traditional way of life by continuing to live in great urban settlements of these tents. As Mongolians rejected communism, the old religion of Buddhism was allowed to re-emerge from the shadows. Ancient temples have been reopened. Surviving underground for over 2 generations, Buddhism is a religion that teaches a reverence for all living things. These aged monks have kept alive the seeds of a hope that the emerging modern Mongolia will cherish her strange and unique wildlife. For many years, Mongolia was virtually a closed country. Now her people face great changes as they struggle to enter the modern world. There are the usual pressures of population growth and industrial modernization, and this threatens both the old ways of her people and the rare creatures that share the land. George Schala of the Wildlife Conservation Society in New York has come to Mongolia to set up a snow leopard study project, a scheme that could pioneer Mongolia's deeper understanding of her own wildlife. Shala is one of the world's leading field biologists. For him, the snow leopard is a special creature.
The snow leopard represents the spirit of these mountains, the symbol of all the plants and animals in this area. I've been in many mountains from which the snow leopard is gone, deprived of its vital tension, deprived of its essential presence. The mountains seem empty. There's a tremendous sense of freedom, excitement, exhilaration to roam these mountains, to stand on a ridge without any sign of humankind as far as I can see to where the earth meets the sky, makes one feel like an old-fashioned explorer.
The base for Shala's explorations is two small gurs hidden in a fold of the Altai Mountains in the southwest of Mongolia. To study the snow leopards here, he must first gain the cooperation of Amara, the herdsman who grazes yaks, goats and horses in this valley. It was one of Amara's young yaks that was taken by a leopard when the snow was deep on the high peaks.
Dr. Scheller from the United States, he has come to our country to study snow leopards.
About how many snow leopards are there in the valley here where he grazes his livestock?
Манай энэ голд ерөнхийдөө 5 ирвс байгаа. 4-5 ирвс байдаг. Голцоо энэ тэгэхэндээ хойт ор тадандаа байдаг.
There are approximately 4 to 5 snow leopards in this area, mostly in the mountainous areas.
Very interesting, thank you.
This little family group depends totally on its livestock for survival. Dung from the animals provides fuel for the stoves which burn in the gurs. Nothing is wasted. Entrails can make a nourishing soup, and the rock-hard curds and cheese from yak and goat milk is a staple food always found among the herdsmen. Under communism, all the livestock was theoretically the property of the state. Now, individual families own the herds, and this could mean less tolerance of leopard predation. For most Mongolians, the very idea of conserving nature is a strange one. They are nature. From the time they can first stand, Mongolians are on the back of one of their beloved horses, moving with the rhythm of their herds and the seasons across the steppe or through the mountain passes. But this intimacy with nature has led to little understanding of its fragility. In recent years, Mongolia has been the only country in the world to allow the commercial hunting of snow leopards. These may be the tracks of the leopard that took the yak. Tserendeleg, a leading Mongolian environmental campaigner, and Shala attempt to track the beast through the wilderness of snow and rock.
The snow leopard can see you approach from miles away, usually, and it can hide. So in all the years of wandering around the Himalayas, the Hindu Kush, the Karakorums, the Kunlun Mountains, now in the Altai, I've only twice come across snow leopards unexpectedly.
Ibex share these mountains with the snow leopards. In this area, they are the leopard's principal prey. But here, as in most places, the ibex have greatly declined in the last 20 years. These valleys have been heavily hunted. Fewer prey animals means that snow leopards are more likely to take domestic stock and come into conflict with the herdspeople. But for the moment, the ibex are still here. This is just before the rutting time, and these big ibex rams have more in their minds than snow leopards. The hills ring with the clash of horns as they fight for dominance of this large herd. Eventually, one ram is seen off down the mountainside. He's chased a good distance to make it abundantly clear he's not welcome. Gradually, a picture is emerging of the pattern of life of the leopards in this valley. An ibex has been killed and partially eaten. Its frozen body is stiff and hard as stone. And here's where the leopard broke the ice and drank from a frozen stream after feeding.
Nice, large
One of the few gnarled poplars that nestle in the sheltered hollows of the valley bears scars where the leopard sharpened its claws. There's other life, too, in these harsh hills as the winter turns towards spring. This red fox looks sleek and well-fed, even after the long, cold months. He's probably been living comfortably on pikers, which live in holes and under rocks on the hillsides. Snow leopards will take pikers, but it would be hard for them to make a living from such small prey. They're a feast for a fox, however, and occasionally for the bearded vultures which soar above the crags on the lookout for a meal among the rocks below. The vulture's main food source is snow leopard kills. Even in the late spring, winter can return. Snow squalls howl through the valley. The ibex huddle down to wait out the storm. And people must do the same. For George Schala, a time to assess the potential of this valley as his snug gur fights off the worst the weather can do.
Much more observation directly on the cats is needed before we really know what their social life is like. A passage at night, a brief sharing of a kill, and then back to solitary existence.
Outside, the storm passes. The blue twilight reveals a leopard. It's a large male who's known to frequent the valley. He's returning with all the graceful stealth of these great cats to feed on the previous ibex kill.
The snow leopard's whole life is devoted to remaining cryptic, to hide from people, to hide from its prey until the final rush and it can catch something. It moves slowly, deliberately, sinuously, so you barely realize that it is there. Like a plume of smoke, like a cloud shadow, it is there one minute and gone the next. And that is, to me at least, one experience that it is well worth thousands of miles of hiking in the mountains to see.
After the storm, the herdsman Amara and his family must check on their scattered flocks. Out on the hills, they find another injured yak. It can only have been a leopard, vanished again among the rocks.
To my knowledge, snow leopards have never become man-eaters like the regular leopard or tiger or lion. In fact, they're so unaggressive and so timid that I've heard of a number of cases where a snow leopard gets into a corral with the livestock and the herdsman simply goes in with a club and beats it to death.
Snow leopards are most active in the morning and again from early evening through the night. In the middle of the day, they shelter among the rocks, where their perfect camouflage makes them almost invisible. When the snows have finally come to an end, it's more difficult to track any animal on the bare rocks. But fitted with collars containing radio transmitters, the leopards can be tracked at a distance, and the work can carry on through the short summer when there is no snow. The Great Gobi Desert lies just beyond these final fringes of the Altai Mountains, and in the summer it's to the Gobi that Shala will return to carry on with earlier work among the strange creatures of this great plain and its isolated rocky hills. In the Gobi too, Buddhism is re-emerging. This monastery was demolished in the late 1930s, and now it's being rebuilt. For George Shala, a blessing from a Lama who has lived to see the old religion re-established.
Working scientifically in an area where few biologists have studied the wildlife, conservation is a very urgent matter. And any information I can get will, I hope, help the wildlife in these regions.
On the desert floor, the vegetation is sparse and coarse, but it's enough to support herds of hulan, the wild ass of the Gobi. The hulan are graceful and swift, but they are timid and flee from man and other beasts. Waterholes are few and far between. A solitary black-tailed gazelle joins the hulans. Even rarer visitors share this precious water. The bushes round about are festooned with the hair of the world's few remaining wild camels. The slopes above the waterhole show the trails of generations of wild camels and other animals which have made their way here. The wild asses are always nervous here. Waterholes are scarce, and this is where they're most likely to come in contact with other animals. The bickering is forgotten as the hulans sense something else approach. Slowly across the desert, a large herd of about 30 wild camels comes towards the water. It's possible this herd is about 10% of all the wild camels remaining in Mongolia. The camels are dominant over the asses at waterholes, and the hulan's nervousness overcomes their need to drink. They move off over the rise. The camels too are skittish about approaching the water. The hulans have made way for them, but there may be wolves about. Although the camels are big and powerful, a pack of wolves can easily isolate an individual and pull it down, especially if it's a young one. As soon as the lead bull senses any kind of danger, the rest of the herd follows him in a wild dash for the horizon. Mongolia and China contain all the Earth's few hundred wild camels. It would be a tragedy if the last progenitors of the world's millions of domestic Bactrian camels died out here in the Gobi or in the arid hills just over the Chinese border. But the vast area of the Gobi National Park is patrolled by only 9 wardens. they can do little to prevent predation by wolves on their camels. More than 60% of wild camel deaths are thought to be caused by wolves. There's also a continuing poaching problem. In the past 2 years, the wardens have barely been able to control the wolf population or the poachers. The collapsed Mongolian economy has meant few bullets for the ancient rifles and little fuel for their trucks. In the mountains to the north of the Gobi Desert, spring has already shaded into summer. And on many days, there's even a touch of coming winter in the air. In these brief summers, Amara and his family moved from the lower valley to the higher slopes to take advantage of the sudden flush of good grazing. Amara's domestic camels, distant descendants of the wild ones in the Gobi, are shedding their heavy winter coats. George Shala has returned to the valley. He needs to be ready for the first snows. His intention is to trap and radio collar a snow leopard himself and to carry on the work of persuading the herdspeople to understand and cooperate with the leopard project. A leopard will often scrape and scent mark ridges and other rocky outcrops to define the boundary of its territory and to let other leopards know they're around. The cats rarely meet, and scent and scrapes are important methods of communication.
I'm sure all the snow leopards in an area know each other by calling, by scent marking, and so forth. So you really have a community where animals are alone, yet not isolated from each other.
In summer, the mountains can be cheered by the flickering, bright movement of the blue hill pigeons. They can also be haunted by the dark shape of a black vulture as it soars the ridges spotting carrion. A fresh snow leopard kill would be a welcome find. Horses are a favorite meal for leopards, but this time it's another of Amara's yaks, half-eaten. For the moment, Amara is too busy tethering the season's new foals to search the slopes for missing stock. Watching eyes are forgotten as small hands are taught to rope frisky young colts. This is the time of the first milking of the mares, a time of great activity and celebration for Amara's family. It's impossible to overestimate the importance of milk from every beast to these herdspeople. That's why the introduction of a system of compensation for snow leopard kills must form part of plans for the creation of leopard reserves. Then the herdsmen are more likely to accept the cats as permanent neighbors and the inevitable loss of some stock. Before the first milk is taken into the summer ger, Amara's wife, Tsitsog, flicks some to the sky and to the earth in thanksgiving for the returning bounty. Inside the ger, the new milk is boiled and ladled off. It will be stirred and churned into a variety of products. One of the most important is the mildly alcoholic Irak, drunk with further blessings from a silver bowl. From all over the high valley country, families come on horseback to celebrate the riches of summer, the return of milk and grazing. It's a time for finery and for ancient ritual, older even than the Buddhism which has just re-established itself. A time to restate a belief in an all-powerful and benevolent nature. This pile of rocks and horns is an oboe, a cairn sacred to the spirit of these mountains. Seasonal offerings are left here. Fresh milk, soft cheese, and the brick-hard curds. Amora has the honor of making the offering, while an elder leads the families in a prayer to the mountain. The season is also celebrated in games. Among the most popular is a casual wrestling, which is rugged but good-humored. Amora loses a match and injures a shoulder which will trouble him for days to come. The culmination of the little festival, called a Nadam, combines the three most important things in the lives of these hill people: milk, children, and horses. The new milk blesses the horses and their young riders. The short celebration comes to an end with a ride round the oboe. Then the families disappear like smoke into the greening valleys. Beyond the edge of the hills, in the desert, the Gobi's brief summer has also brought a little rain and new life. The desert plants glow with color amidst the eternal parched ochres. In one of the oases, which are the lifelines of the Gobi, the poplars and the tamarisks are in summer green and yellow. Succulent shoots and seeds mean fresh food for insects. Birds, too, come now to the oasis. A desert jay finds plentiful, if alarming, prey. The insect life also attracts one of the cutest of the Gobi's strange denizens. It's a hedgehog in a land without hedges. But what a hedgehog! It's got huge ears to locate its prey in the solid darkness of the desert night, which is its usual hunting time. But this misplaced hedgehog is not the biggest surprise the Gobi has in store. Deep among the tamarisks, there are stranger beasts around. These are the tracks of one of the world's rarest animals, the Gobi bear. This curious bear is the subject of another research program conceived by George Sharner. The Gobi is an absurd place to find a population of bears. Deserts are not their natural home. Special feeding stations have been set up to help the small population. There could be as few as 30 Gobi bears left in the world. There are none in captivity. Wolves haunt the oasis, a threat to young bears as much as to young camels. This small family group is moving to the water for an early morning drink. Wolves are always on the lookout for an easy meal, but this time they seem more intent on quenching their thirst. This Hulan and her foal have traveled many miles to get to the waterhole. They are tired and must have water. The wild asses are swift. They could almost certainly outrun a wolf. But ancient fears are strong, and the mother and her young ones stay well away. Eventually, the wolves themselves drift off towards the hills. And it's the turn of a small flock of Argali sheep to approach the water. Unlike the ibex, the Argali are found in the mountains and the desert, but the magnificent horns on the adult rams mean they have been a favorite target for hunters, and they have been shot out in many areas. A ram notices the departing wolves. A real panic sets in. It will be many hours before anything approaches this water again. In the desert nearby, a larger group of Hulans is also stirred into flight. Maybe there is something about the excitement of the gallop, but the activity seems to stir antagonism among the stallions. They begin to chase and nip each other as a prelude to the real challenges to come, when they will fight for dominance of the herd. Back at the abandoned oasis, in the gathering dusk, the warden Choygin has a lucky sighting. Moving through the bushes, he sees a Gobi brown bear. This is one of the rarest sights of the natural world, never before captured on film. These short-coated, long-legged Gobi bears are a subspecies of the brown bear. They're not dying out particularly because of man's activities, although they have been hunted in the past. They really shouldn't be here at all. They are a last relict population of the bears which were here when the Gobi was a greener, softer place hundreds of years ago. If anything, the bears are even more shy than the wild camels and the Hulan. This one detects some slight movement or scent and moves off towards the hills. The sight of one Gobi bear is to be treasured, but the desert near this oasis has something even more remarkable in store. Here are a mother and her cub rooting in the gravel for the wild rhubarb, which is their scarce and favorite food. The cub at least seems healthy, and the tiny population is probably stable. But it's too small to sustain any disturbance or shock. For the moment, a mother and her baby feed in the noonday desert, unaware of the poignancy of animals of the woods and grassland having to grub in the burning gravel to sustain their lives. But Mongolian scientists are carrying on the research into their behavior, which might provide a key to their survival. The almost mythical rarity of the Gobi bear can make a snow leopard seem commonplace by comparison. But the leopards are still a small and endangered population, about which little is known. In the mountains above the desert, autumn is fast approaching. The first snows have already fallen. George Shala resumes his research, with the herdsman Amara being drawn ever more closely into the work. In the mountains to the east, there is another man with a deep love and understanding for snow leopards. He's a hermit called Biamba, who lives here with just a tame eagle for company. 5 years ago, Biamba was told that he had not long to live, and healers recommended that only by going alone to this wilderness could he hope to survive. He's still very much alive, and among his few links with his former existence is his collection of family photographs and Buddhist icons. His time in the mountains is now dedicated to studying the snow leopards, which he photographs with an ancient Russian camera. Every day, summer and winter, he walks for miles along the ridges on the lookout for leopards. At this season, the Argali sheep are rutting. The horns of a big male weigh 25 pounds, and when two evenly matched rams clash, the impact is fearsome. In this area, the Argali are prey for leopards, so there may be cats about. Biamba's stalking technique is to approach the ridgeline very slowly and peer into the gully below. He's learnt where leopards are likely to be during the day. The cat scent marks the rocks before padding slowly off over the patchy snow of the gully. When George Shala heard of Biamba, he couldn't resist the opportunity of meeting a man whose obsession with the leopards is as great as his own.
It's wonderfully close. The animals are even resting, and you're right on top of them.
The old man's photographs are remarkable. With his ancient camera and a standard lens, he's been able to creep right up to resting leopards.
Is this the same one?
A conversation in 2 languages with seemingly perfect understanding on both sides. From his meeting with Biamba, Shala has gained new insight into the habits of the leopards, which he will be able to put into practice in Amara's valley. With the knowledge now gained and the assistance of another American specialist, Tom McCarthy, Shala entered the final phase of his attempt to trap a leopard.
Scent mark. Let's give it a try. I hope snow leopard comes out of one of these valleys in the next week or two.
We'll go ahead and bring the swing over.
Amara is now drawn completely into the organization of the quest and is as excited as the scientists by the prospect of a capture.
Cinch this up a little bit, see? That's gonna sit in here. See if we can find a boulder that's got enough cleft in it that we can tie something to it, add to that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
This looks like it's about ready to arm, otherwise I think everything's all set. It's all one last little piece of camouflage. That looks good.
The plan is that a leopard will follow the trail, step carefully to avoid the little walls, and put its foot in the snare. Altogether, 11 snares were set in places where leopards were known to pass. For 27 days, in temperatures far below zero, the team visited each of the snares. Every time they were empty.
We'll have to clean the snow off the snare cable in case it melts and freezes into the ground.
The morning of the 28th day was bright and clear, and up on the mountain, leopards had been prowling.
Medium-sized snow leopard moved up this hill.
Boy, it looks really fresh.
Yeah, I suspect early this morning hasn't melted out at all yet.
Fresh scratches, where a leopard had raked a tree with its claws. Finally, among the rocks above, the end of the quest. A magnificent female caught by the left foreleg. For Amara, it became a religious experience. He gave thanks for success and paid homage to the cat. Most scientists dislike trapping and collaring wild animals, but here in Mongolia, it is the only way to find out about the habits and movements of the leopards.
What do you think she weighs? Okay, I got 1.3 cc's of the drug.
The cat is injected with a tranquilizer and carried to safer ground to allow measurements to be made and the radio collar to be fitted. For George Shala, it's his first actual contact with a wild leopard after years of studying them. This one's not fully grown, but it still weighs a hefty 60 pounds.
Each time that I capture, handle, and release an animal successfully, I hope that this is the last time I have to do it. It is a traumatic experience to be confined in any way, then to have a person come up to you, human beings being the one thing they fear above all else. Put a radio on and let them go.
Okay, you want a hand with your legs? Okay, I'm
you worry even more of the chances that it might get hurt during the capture.
Do we want to do anything about holding her down so she...
So I would be very content if I never have to capture and release another animal.
I'd like another ear punch for genetics, even if I don't put another tag in it.
Take one. I don't think you need another tag. Collar's good and loose, but not so loose we can get it off. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we get all the excess cut off.
Enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise, antenna is too
хэмжээний
far.
нөвдөл бол ер нь ямар ч гэсэн яг таарсан байна гэж бодчих. Яг тааруулсан байна.
Yeah, she'll grow. She's a young female, so she'll grow a bit and fill out the collar nicely.
Good.
The radio transmits vital information on the leopard's habits, when it's on the move and when it's resting, even its general health. It also helps define the range of an individual's territory.
No, you may want to pack up.
Okay.
I'll just go around the corner and watch it.
The leopard was tranquilized for just over an hour. She soon recovered and made her way back to the peaks. For Shala and Amara's family, it's a time for celebration. A successful capture and an even closer emotional identification of the herdspeople with the purpose of the research program.
Remember, yesterday she was in that second gully and she moved up onto the ridge and over. I wonder where she is today.
Now we can go ahead and see if we can pick her up from here. See if we can tell where she's at. Oh yeah, she's still there. It's a slow pulse, so she's probably not moving right now.
Well, it's a little after 10, so she's probably resting for the day.
I'll get a little closer.
Yeah, let's get a bit closer.
The young female shows no ill effects of the capture, but she is aware of the watchers tracking her in the valley below. She moves off to the inaccessible heights.
When the last snow leopard is gone from these mountains, there will be a great emptiness. Every country must do its utmost to protect its snow leopards, to study wildlife, including the snow leopard, and help protect it is my goal. To travel on and on, to look beyond the ranges is my quest.
It has been a sustained effort to capture one leopard, but the real prize has been to bring an isolated community into a commitment to work to preserve its own rare wildlife.
In conservation, you fight for a habitat, an ecosystem. And if you can protect the dominant animal in that ecosystem, you automatically protect all the other plants and animals which do not normally arouse public concern or empathy.
The leopards in these valleys may now stand more chance of survival than the last wild camels and haunted relics of the Gobi bears in the burning desert below these mountains.